Hello and welcome to Beyond the Boundary. My name is Josh. It's fantastic to have you on board again for another week. It's round 2. We've got the boys with me again this week. Nick, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm great. Good win for the Catters on Thursday night.
And Vinay, on my left, how are you doing?
Absolutely fantastic, Josh.
I tell you what, we're a happy panel this week. All our teams won. We are very, very happy. Boys, interesting week of football. The Bombers got over Friday night. It was a fantastic win. Your boys, Geelong, on Thursday night were exceptional in that last quarter. It was
in
a
the
hot
end,
battle.
yeah.
Hot battle against the Crows. Vinay, on Sunday, your Eagles just decimated the Bulldogs. And the Saints, somewhat surprisingly, got over the Demons.
I did. I don't think many people expected that one, actually.
Not at all. And I think the Hawks took 3 quarters to get going, but got over the Brisbane Lions quite comfortably in the end. But we'll go through a bit of a review in the games for round 2 of those teams.
Definitely not a good round for tipping. 3 out of 5 we all got in the second half of round 1.
Yep.
Josh still leading the way by 1, as you can see at the bottom of your screen there. So I'm sure we'll be hearing more about that in future weeks. Anyway, the toast and roast.
Toast and roast. Get your caddy counters out. Nick, you're up first.
Yeah, I am up first, and this week I'm toasting the Bull, Josh Caddy. He was exceptional on Thursday night. I know these boys, they see 20 disposals and they think, that's an average game. His approach to the footy was second to none. It was Joel Selwood-like. He was outstanding.
I'll give you that, Nick.
He says, I wish I could put this piece of play. I'll probably link it in the description, actually. He saw Rory Sloane and he went, no chance. Stepped around him. He saw Matthew Wright, no chance. Stepped around him and he set up the sealer. Brilliant piece of play.
I must admit, I did say before the season that Josh Caddy hasn't really shown me anything of any substance as yet as a footballer. Yeah. But Thursday night I saw some good signs, and I'm still not on the bandwagon yet.
Not quite.
But he's definitely showing some signs, which is great to see.
You might see him in the team of the round in future weeks, you think?
Maybe. We've had plenty of feedback about that. We enjoy it.
I'm on the bandwagon, Nick. And something else that I'm on the bandwagon for is the Essendon Football Club.
Yeah, very good.
An excellent win over North. We all tipped North Melbourne, and plenty of people probably tipped North Melbourne. They were favourites going in, and Essendon, they did really, really well. Byron Thompson said after the actual press conference after the game that morning they really were unsure what to expect from the young Essendon side. They weren't too sure, but they came out and they played extremely well. Paddy Ambrose and Marty Gleeson, I really like these kids. Paddy Ambrose was a bit of a surprise, last minute kind of elevation.
Zach Merritt came on it halfway through the third quarter and picked up 11 touches as well. So
and
he was fantastic as well.
Chapman looked excellent. Watson, he's one of my favourite players probably. So I toast the Essendon Football Club, gents.
Beautiful. Now I guess it's my turn. Mine goes to the St Kilda Football Club. I thought not many people gave them a chance on the weekend. Their midfield was decimated with the loss of Lenny Hayes, Lee Montagna, Jack Stephen. I guess you can throw in Nick Del Santo as well, considering it was their first game without him. And led by Clint Jones, I thought Clint Jones was fantastic, picking up 39 disposals. David Armitage, Luke Dunstan, who we've just received word that he's got the NAB Rising Star for round 1.
Well done to him. Very good.
So well done to Luke Dunstan. Well deserved, 21 possessions, 7 clearances. So I thought they took the opportunities, which Melbourne didn't. 6-15, I think Melbourne kicked, but backing is bad football, and
we'll get into that later.
Yeah, St Kilda took their opportunities.
Now it's time for the Rickard Roast. Can't wait for it this week. What have you got for us, Josh?
I look forward to this. It's a 2-part roast.
2 roastings this week.
2-part.
Jeez.
First one to North Melbourne. I expected so much more of them on Friday night, was it?
Whatever it was.
Friday night. And they were just deplorable. Absolutely deplorable. And they showed no effort around the contest. Bruise-free football, I would have thought.
Ooh.
And no team likes to be called that. So, yeah, I'd expect them to pick their game up big time against the Bulldogs on Sunday.
Turn it up, North Melbourne.
Turn it up. And my second part 2. Now, I've been...
Here comes the real roasting.
Here comes the real roasting. I've been on Essendon's side for this whole 14 months that the Asada investigation has been happening.
Yep.
But I think while James Hird and Tania Hird are away, keep your mouth shut. Seriously, it is getting to every single Essendon supporter that this keeps getting brought up. And especially when the club wants to move on and these type of people within the club keep bringing up this investigation and what's happened and everything.
Yep.
It hurts. And for the first time on Friday morning, I said to myself, and I said to my dad as well, who's inside at the moment, I said, I wouldn't actually mind if James Hird doesn't come back.
Whoa. Rickard's not happy.
It's time to, as one reporter said during the week, take your money, shut up, and come back when you're ready to.
There we go. First game of the round, guys. Richmond versus Carlton. Thursday night at the MCG. First time we're going to see the MCG this year, which has been a long time coming, I guess. Last time it was Carlton by 20 points in the qualifying final, which Richmond fans weren't too happy about.
I'm really liking this Thursday night football thing.
I like it too, actually.
Loves this. I really like having to wait one less day for footy to return. Really good initiative. I like this. The AFL's responding to the demand. But onto the game, Richmond-Carlton. They both lost games that they started off as favourites in. Richmond probably, Gold Coast are an extremely good side, but Richmond with their pre-season and what Josh saw from them in practice games probably should have, backed up their pre-season and won. But now they've got a chance at home against the Blues, who came off pretty disappointing against Port Adelaide, here in Melbourne as well.
Definitely. Yep.
So it'll be very interesting. Richmond had plenty of opportunity against Gold Coast. They went inside 58 times for 19 scoring shots.
Not good enough.
Terrible conversion rate. I mean, Richmond, as Vinay's just said, had plenty of the football and just wasted it.
Yep.
Much like Melbourne against St Kilda, much like most teams this week, they had plenty of the ball and had chances to win, just didn't capitalise.
I think one big factor of the game, a few people actually laughed at Vinay. I'm talking to you, Richmond Big Footy Board, when he suggested that Metricon Stadium is becoming a bit of a fortress. After performances against Collingwood last year and North Melbourne last year, Richmond came up there quite confident they'll win that game. Gold Coast were not having a bar of it, and they really stepped it up against the Tigers and got the job done. Well done to them.
Absolutely. With Carlton, boys, I think they started the game well against Port Adelaide.
Yep.
And it looked like it was going to be a fierce contest for 4 quarters. But the fitness level came through at the end. I think Darren Burgess at Port Adelaide's really turned that club around.
Yeah.
And it was evident because I think Mick Moldhouse said in his post-game press conference that Carlton has had 22 post-season surgeries. Now, that can't be good. And that fitness just can't switch on.
And it was really evident in the game they played that they weren't up to scratch.
So I think we'll see Carlton maybe struggle to run out games, and especially with the new interchange cap as well, it's going to affect them badly. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
I know you've made the point in the past that Carlton's bottom 6 players in their best 22 are probably the worst in any of the 22s in the competition.
I stand by that.
And it's just that they really just don't have that depth. Like the top end players are quite good, and as you go down through the team, it's quite a solid team. But as you get towards the bottom end of the scale, they're just not really up to scratch as your Geelongs, your Hawthorns, your Essendons, your Richmonds, which really puts them below par there.
I think every team has 3 excellent performers. Then they have the 4th, 5th and 6th that have games that they really lift and get the big, drag their team over the line. Carlton seem to have the more or less, the same 3 that do extremely well every game.
Yeah.
Brock McLean sort of came out last year as that 4th kind of guy that could lift, but, fitness they just fell asleep in that last quarter. So,
all right, boys, what are our tips?
Josh, go to you first. What are you thinking?
I'll go Richmond by 22. I just think they'll bounce back. They like the MCG. They'll want revenge on last year's qualifying final. I know it won't mean as much, but they need to win on the board, as silly as that is to say in round 2. But if they want to play finals, they need to win this game.
I'm thinking Richmond as well. I'm going to say 30 points. I think last week they were quite disappointing. Carlton even more so disappointing. But probably higher stakes for Richmond here, who you'd expect them to win this game. So Richmond by 30 points.
Jack Rewalt is an extremely competitive player. He'll have his naysays, but he's a very competitive, good, strong player.
Yeah.
As is almost all their list, but he performed poorly against Gold Coast, and he'll want to come back this week. He'll want to step up and stop being looked at as the second fiddle to the Tyrone
Loves
victory.
the big stage as well.
He does, yeah. He's an excellent player, and I can see him lifting, and I'm going to.
But he does have a media ban, so we better stop talking about it.
He stopped it.
Oh, he stopped it.
He stopped it. He has stopped it.
Fair enough. Anyway, who are you tipping for now?
I'm tipping Richmond by 15.
There we go. Match of the round. Next up, it's Essendon, Josh's boys versus Hawthorn. Friday night at Etihad Stadium. Last time it was Hawthorn by 56 points in round 18 last season. What are your thoughts on the game, guys?
Very happy Buddy's not playing. It gives us a chance. He's been the difference so many times.
He does rip you to pieces.
When we've played Hawthorn, but now he's at Sydney, so I guess we got to watch out against Sydney. But really, I'm really looking forward to this game. I think from what I saw last week under Bowen Thompson, the team's playing a lot more controlled style of football. They're waiting for the right option. They're not bombing away. One player that I saw last week that has changed his game already is David Myers. He was a constant player that used to bomb the ball away, but now he's controlled. He's looking for options, which is fantastic to see. So can't wait to take on the Hawks on Friday night.
Speaking of players that can make the difference against Hawthorn, Paul Chapman. When was the last time he lost to Hawthorn? 2008
grand finals. He doesn't like losing to Hawthorn. We'll have to wait and see.
He was very impressive for the Bombers on what was it, Friday night? We said
Friday night.
His goal sense was second
Saturday
to none,
night,
as it always been. Whenever it was.
Friday night.
Was it?
We'll figure it out eventually.
Because games start on Thursday. Yeah, all right. Yep, my bad. Yep, good call.
But boys, the Hawks, they're a prolific side.
And
I don't think they, with all due respect to Brisbane, I thought they played very, very well. I don't think Hawthorn got out of second gear.
I don't think I'm going to give Brisbane quite so much respect there. I think it was a top gear Brisbane against a second gear Hawthorn. I think it was the classic case of just seeing this team that you know you're going to be able to hammer no matter which way you play your game, which Sydney thought against GWS didn't actually turn out that way. And in the last quarter, Hawthorn finally just turned it on after Brisbane. They'd been impressive, but still, I don't think they were a genuine threat of actually running over the top of the Hawks there.
One thing that I've got to mention is that watching Essendon play, their ball movement was so quick. It was so Geelong-like. They take a mark automatically, either look to get it off, look for the short option. They were not giving the opposition North Melbourne a chance at all. If they made a mistake, if they had one man in front of the ball or behind the ball or something in front of the ball carrier, they paid for it every single time. If they fell behind by one man in the forward 50, Essendon made them pay because they moved it along so quickly. And that, I think, if any team can beat Hawthorn, that's the kind of game style you need because it's fast, it's unrelenting, it's punishing. And like I mentioned, North Melbourne were caught out so many times where, it was a 2-on-1 in the forward 50 and a defender was caught behind the ball carrier. Hawthorn could pay for that if they do that.
I really liked Essendon's clearance work on Friday night as well. Being at the game, you saw more of a broader view of the way Essendon's set up. And I thought I said to my dad again, who came to the game with me, I said, I think we're absolutely dominating the clearances. This was at half time and had a look at the stats just before they came out for the third quarter, and I was proven right. So I think that's an area we can probably beat Hawthorn on Friday night. But obviously Hawthorn have got so many good footballers in their side. And it's definitely going to be a tough ask.
I think if there's going to be a time that you'll see a team cause an upset playing against Hawthorn this season, it's probably going to be now because Hawthorn's backline is very depleted at the moment. Brisbane exploited that for quite a part of the game on the weekend, and Essendon could very well do the same. Joe Danaher was very impressive the other night, and he could play a big part in having an impact this week. Just before we get to our tips, boys, Sil Rioli will come.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Sil Rioli comes back this week, and he'll be very eager to get into the action.
Playing more of a half-back role.
Well, he's got this new inventive role of half-back, and I think he's perfect for that role because he's quick, he's got good foot skills, got good hand skills, awareness is top class, so I'll be very interested to see what Essendon do.
Doesn't panic under pressure either.
Yep, he does not,
Josh?
Boys, our tips?
Who are you tipping, Josh?
I just can't, as much as it hurts, I can't tip against Hawthorn.
It's 2 weeks in a row he's tipped against.
I know, but I tell you what, if Essendon win, I would not give a care in the world if I lose a tip. I tell you that much. But Hawthorn are just too good. They're the best side in the competition, just over Fremantle.
What's your margin there?
15 points.
15 points. I'm going to say Hawthorn by 22. We usually see quite close games in this. It's always a very exciting game to watch, but I just think Hawthorn probably a class above, and they'll get the job done.
I'll tell you what, boys. I'm actually really, really tempted to say Essendon right now.
Really?
Honestly.
You've got Hawthorn by 22
I know. But honestly, I don't know. Just after discussing it, I'm very, very tempted to tip the Bombers just because they are as vulnerable as they'll ever be. And Essendon, they were right on top of North. And Hawthorn, they played average for 3 quarters, then showed up and destroyed the Lions in the last.
Do it.
Money where your mouth is? Go on.
Do it.
I can't do it. I'm just going to have to
Talks the talk, but doesn't walk the walk.
I tipped Hawthorn to finish top of the ladder, and I agreed with Josh when I said they're the best chance to go undefeated.
Yeah.
I can't see them losing to anyone. So I'm just going to have to say, but I am going to say that if Essendon win, I'll be the least surprised person that you'll find. But I'm going to go Hawthorn by maybe 10.
10.
Yeah.
Gone against the run sheet again. He likes doing that.
All right, boys, moving on to our next game, which is Saturday afternoon. St Kilda versus GWS at Etihad Stadium. It's going to be an interesting game, this one.
Yep.
The last time
Agreed.
these two teams met was in round 3. St Kilda won by 72 points at Manuka.
A
It won't be
shellacking.
that simple anymore.
Now, in round 1, we used a bit of sarcasm saying we're looking forward to the GWS game. I genuinely am looking forward to the
Yeah, me
GWS
too.
game this
Yeah,
week.
genuinely.
Because after the performance GWS put up and the performance St Kilda put up, both playing out of their skin,
Yeah.
St Kilda probably to a lesser extent, but GWS rolling Sydney there.
Yeah.
This could be quite the contest, and I thought long and hard about who I'm going to tip in this one.
It's, like you mentioned, it's really interesting because both sides were complete underdogs and both sides fought for their victory.
Yeah.
You know, and St Kilda, they were completely depleted to the bone when they played against, who did they beat? Melbourne. So they were depleted. Melbourne were depleted to an extent, but St Kilda, you know, they had Revolt, and apart from that, no real mainstays. Like Clint Jones has played as a tagger for the majority of his career.
I bet he loved that.
Yeah. He really loved that free license, and they lifted to a whole new level. Now they've got Montagna and Stephen back, and Nick Rewalt.
He steps up when
I don't
he
care
really
how old
wants
he's
to.
getting. 23 disposals and 3 goals. He's such a workhorse.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to agree. And as you both said, very much looking forward to this game just to see what these two teams can bring to the table against one another. Both had very, very good wins last week.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how they go.
We might see a bit of a benchmark set for themselves in their own team goals this week because they're two teams that everyone just assumes will be in the bottom 2 this season, but then they've come out of round 1 straight out of the blocks and put in great performances.
Exactly.
One of these teams is going to be 2 wins on the trot, probably going to be top 4 at the end of round 2.
You're right, yeah.
So they could really set a nice start to their season. 2 players from GWS who I wanted to touch on, Adam Traylor and Callan Ward. They were prolific
Very, very good.
against Sydney, both in the team of the round this week.
Chalora, a good Noble Park boy, my local footy club.
Yep.
Is he? I was only there for 1 year, but
Still
coached
interesting.
and I still talk to many of the boys there. But a very good Noble Park boy, and good to see him being very successful at the top level.
Definitely.
Boys, looking at some of the inclusions here,
Yep.
Lee Montagna, Lenny Hayes, Josh Bruce is a potential, and Billy Longer. Those are some pretty big ins. Joey Montagna is their number 1 midfielder when he comes in.
Yeah.
And Lenny Hayes, now there's somebody else apart from Rue that's got a lot of experience. I reckon this will be a very, very interesting game.
Oh, boys, our tips?
I really wanted to tip GWS this week, and I'll be kicking myself if they do get up. But St Kilda, after the performance they put up against Melbourne, playing at Etihad, I think St Kilda by 1 point.
But 8?
Yeah, St Kilda, I think they proved me wrong. They're not as completely lost in season 2014 as everyone thinks they are.
Yep.
And I can see them, turning things on. I'm going to tip Saints by 10, actually.
I might just add, he actually had GWS by 12 before he heard Hayes and Montagna are likely to come back.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to tip them. I'm going to tip the Giants.
Yeah, tip the Giants.
I'm going to tip the Giants.
By a solitary
point.
Yeah.
But I just think they'll get a lot of confidence out of last week and they can beat anyone in the competition. I reckon they'll do it.
Jeez, let's wait and see. Next game in the round
The
is the showdown. Port Adelaide versus Adelaide. Saturday afternoon at Adelaide Oval. Be interesting to see the turnout there. Last time it was Port by 4 points in round 19. The crazy bounce at right angles. I think we might remember
Humphreys.
from that game.
Oh, the world's biggest off break.
The world's biggest off break. Yep.
That was. I get goosebumps every
Really
time I watch
hard
that
out.
clip back.
Yeah.
Nathan Lyon would have been happy with that turn in the game.
Nathan Lyon would be happy with any turn in a game.
that's a fair call.
Anyway,
That's a
back to
fair
the
call.
footy. What are our thoughts on the game, guys?
Port Adelaide were very, very exciting against
Yeah.
Carlton
Yep.
on last Saturday night, previous Sunday night.
Yep.
They ran the game out 4 quarters and they took Carlton to the very edge. And I think Matthew Broadbent coming on as a sub was
a
fantastic.
master. Yeah.
It was between him and Lee Adams
Yep.
for the sub of the week in our team of the round.
Yeah.
Adams just because he was probably the second best player behind Lindsay Thomas on that game. But anyway, we'll get to that
Phenomenal,
later.
yeah.
But Matthew Broadbent was fantastic, and one player that I'm really, really excited about, Ollie Wines.
Yeah.
He is going to be an absolute gun of a footballer.
yeah.
I think he had 28 disposals,
quite a few tackles as well.
Quite a few tackles. He had a number of
Kick
clearances.
to goal, yeah.
Easily best on ground for mine.
Yeah, very impressive. Adelaide weren't disappointing against my boys, the Cats. Like Brisbane against Hawthorn, they played very well for 3 quarters, but just dropped off towards the end. They really hurt us with their outside run. Geelong played quite a high line, which I'll talk about a bit later. But Adelaide on the rebound were very, very good there. And they actually looked quite dangerous up forward, despite lacking some quality tools there. I was quite surprised to see that from them.
Adelaide and Port Adelaide, as far as I'm concerned, have similar-ish game styles. They love to use their outside run to hurt their opposition. And also, I think Adelaide have made a lot of changes. Matthew Jensch, playing that rebounding role off half-back, he had 23 disposals at 100% disposal efficiency.
It's a fair effort.
That is a very, very fair effort. Every single one of his kicks hit the target.
Yeah.
So Adelaide are coming into this with Richard Douglas and Brett Riley. Brett Riley is an All-Australian. Richard Douglas is a very, very good midfielder.
Best and fairest winner at the club.
Exactly. So they're a big, big chance. I reckon this will be another one of the potential games of the rounds because it always gets heated down there in Adelaide.
The last 2 times these teams have played, the game's been decided by under 10 points.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, the Crows aren't very happy that they're not wearing that commemorative
I was gonna
South Australian jumper.
I was going to say there is a bit of heat coming in with the supporters.
And
With
they're not very happy that Port Adelaide get the first home game at Adelaide Oval. So this game could get very, very spiteful, boys.
Jeez, they love to complain down in Adelaide.
Tips,
They
boys?
do.
Josh, who are you tipping?
I'm tipping Port by 10 points. I really love what Ken Hinkley's doing at that football club. I think their midfield is superior to Adelaide. Just. But I think they'll get the job done by 10 points.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Port Adelaide by 15. I think Adelaide have got some very good top-end stars there, but I think across the ground, Port Adelaide are just a class above them. Vinay?
Yeah, Port Adelaide, to me, it comes down to the forward line. Adelaide still lacking a big, good tall. McKernan was okay, but I think Port Adelaide with Jay Schultz and Westhoff taking contested marks at will, I reckon they'll have this. I've tipped them by 8 points, boys.
All right, boys, moving on to our next game. It is Fremantle versus the Gold Coast Suns at Patterson Stadium. The last time these two teams met, Fremantle by 45 points in round 6 of last year. Ouch, yep. Boys, what do we think?
I am very intrigued by this game, Josh, for a number of reasons. The young Gold Coast Suns coming up against... Fremantle have to be premiership favourites the way they played against Collingwood. I know it's early to say, it's only been one round, but if they play like that every week, good luck to the team that's playing them.
Definitely.
But it'll be very interesting because Gold Coast, they don't care who they're playing. They love to fight it out. They get a kick out of being the underdogs every single week. And Creepy Crowley will go to Gary Ablett.
Crowley.
I'll tell you what, he's just stealing all our notes off the run sheet. He's left us with nothing to talk about.
But honestly, Creepy Crowley going to Gary Ablett, that's one of the things that you watch AFL for, to see the game's best tagger play the game's best midfielder.
We were just talking off air who our Supercoach captain will be. And the first thing we say is, Crowley will be on Ablett. Just disregard him because that's the kind of impact he has on the best stars in the competition. He's just by far, hands down, the best shutdown player in the competition.
Yeah. Absolutely. But as we said last week, Ablett is no longer the Gold Coast midfield.
Yeah.
Is no longer the Gold Coast midfield.
This is the 4th consecutive episode Joss has said this. But
I'm just trying to drill it into people because people still think that Ablett's the
Dion Prestia.
Harley Bennell's a chance to come back this week as well. Yeah. So
Danny Stanley
as well. David Swallow.
Jago O'Meara.
Jago O'Meara. The guns on Jago O'Meara. Wowee.
He is a big boy. One of the things that we've got to consider is that Gold Coast are a very attacking side. They love to go through the midfield. They love that run off halfback provided by McKenzie, and now Swallow, who's also playing a bit role there. But Fremantle, the opposite. They love to pressure their opponents, force mistakes, force turnovers, and then kill them on the rebound. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see, will Gold Coast go into their shell, or will they continue to open fire?
Boys, tips?
This week I've got Fremantle by 42 points. I think we all agree that Fremantle will just be class above Gold Coast this week. And Gold Coast are definitely improving, but Fremantle, flag favourites, I think, at this stage. I'm
going for back-to-back 45-point wins. I just think Fremantle, I can't see them losing at Patterson Stadium to anyone this year.
You know what, boys? I'm going to flip-flop. No, I'm not. I'm just going to I just wanted to see their reaction.
You never know with Lakshman.
I'm going to tip Freo. They're going to win. They should win, about 40 points.
Sydney versus Collingwood, Saturday night at ANZ. Last time it was Collingwood by 29 points in round 20 last year. What are our thoughts on the games, boys?
Boys, this is a big, big game. I know it's only round 2, and we'll keep saying it, but you don't want to go into a season being 0-2. And one of these two teams who've had top 4 aspirations, 2 of us picked Sydney to finish in the top We all picked Sydney in the top 4, didn't
Oh,
we?
for sure. Yeah.
One of us picked Collingwood in the top 4, which needs to be improved a lot.
We'll get to that in a second.
It's only been around. Give the
with,
Maggies a break.
With the performances you're seeing from Hawthorn and Fremantle early on, Sydney, if they go 0-2, top spot's almost out of the question because these teams are just performing so well.
Oh, for sure.
They cannot afford to lose 2 games in a row at the start of the season.
It might sound silly saying top spot's out of the equation after round 2, but it's true because
It's true.
Hawthorn and Freo, they don't look like losing to anyone except each other.
Yeah.
exactly right.
The top end talent's
Right.
so good. Anyway, moving on to this game. Sydney, they were outclassed by a more determined GWS, you'd feel. There's a number of factors that could have played a part. They left Kieran Jack out, which was a terrible decision, as it proved.
He had a back injury. He's in doubt for this week.
Oh, he's in doubt for this week?
Yeah.
I thought he was rested.
No, he's got a back. He had back spasms.
There you go. It was probably a very good decision, actually. But there's no doubt that Sydney really took GWS. They underestimated them. They thought, as we discussed with Hawthorn Brisbane earlier, they thought it was a team that they could just run over the top of, and it certainly wasn't. And they'll definitely want to go the opposite way against Collingwood this week, I guess, and put in one of their best performances.
Collingwood definitely play ANZ Stadium very, very
Oh,
well.
for sure.
I
They
think
won there last time.
the only time I can remember that Collingwood
Collingwood had a 10-year winning streak there or something, didn't they?
I was pretty
It
close.
was pretty long.
They lost the prelim final there in 2012.
Yeah, I
Sydney.
remember that. Yeah.
But other than that, they don't lose up there very often.
They certainly don't.
Collingwood are one of the sides that travel pretty well. And, a lot of people are saying Sydney's going to be determined. Sydney's going to be really keen to bounce back after the loss. Well, so is Collingwood. I listened to an interview with Scott Pendlebury earlier today. He was filthy with the way his boys played against Fremantle. They are just as proud a club as Sydney. Yeah. So I can see them being just as, annoyed at themselves and wanting to fight back. And one thing that I've forgotten about is that Ben Reid's not playing, is he?
No, he got ruled out tonight, being Monday night.
Yep.
On Channel 7. So he's not going to be playing. So it's a big loss into their probably forward structure.
But Jesse White should come back, we think.
Yeah, he should play.
That could
Okay.
play a big part relieving Cloak up forward. He was very good in the pre-season, especially against my boys Geelong. He was on fire. So
We got a handful of names on the run sheet here. Sam Dwyer, Lockie Keefe, Jared Blair, Alex Fasolo, Josh Thomas. All very capable of playing at the top level. And
all a good chance to come back in.
all a very, very good chance.
Of
to come into
course.
the
Oh,
side.
yeah. You'd reckon for Solo, Blair, Dwyer, or maybe Dwyer White is a certainty.
Yeah. So, boys, who are we tipping?
I'm going Sydney just because it's in Sydney.
Okay.
I know we said Collingwood played
Yep.
the ground that well
Yep.
up there, but being in Sydney, I just think they'll bounce back better than Collingwood.
I know Vinay
By
changed
29 points.
by 29 points. I know Vinay changed his mind about 3 times in the car on the way here. Who are you tipping, Vinay?
I am changing my mind for a 4th time, boys. I started off with Sydney, then I went Collingwood, then I went Sydney, and now I'm going to go Collingwood. Main reason being that both teams were disappointing last week.
Yeah.
But honestly, I feel it hurts. Collingwood is very, very hurt at the moment. And they have a superstar midfield. Sydney's midfield failed to work last week. Kennedy, Hanbury was very poor. And even Jared McVeigh.
Yeah.
Collingwood midfield, they lost, but their midfield looked good. Beam, Swan and Pendlebury were close to their best. So I'm going to go Collingwood by 10 points.
Interesting. I think I'll play it safe here. I've gone Sydney by 35. I think, in my mind, Vinay's got them top 3, Collingwood.
I do.
I don't think Collingwood will be quite that good this season. I think Sydney's one of the top 3 powerhouses in the competition, and they'll bounce back. So Sydney by 35 points.
Anyway, boys, we're running a bit behind time, so we better get going.
Back on track.
Sunday afternoon at the Gabba, it's the Miracle on Grass rematch.
No, it's not.
Well, it is. It is. Brisbane and Geelong, the last time these two teams met was down at Simmons Stadium. Geelong won by a point in round 23.
Paul Chapman, I think, saved that game.
I think he did, yes.
Yep. Touched on the line.
Where's he now?
Here we go. Anyway,
Let's get into it.
We'll leave that for another day. Geelong played a very attacking style of game against, who was it? Adelaide. There we go. So the half back line, they sort of played almost up to the half forward line and really tried to sort of keep the ball, like what West Coast did against the Western Bulldogs. Yes. Really tried to strangle the opposition and keep the ball in the forward 50. They looked vulnerable on the counter-attack, but it was very impressive to see finally a more positive attacking style of football, which I haven't seen from them in a little while.
Yeah, definitely. I thought Jimmy Bartell, that was a very good move.
That was a master stroke.
To be honest, when I heard that he was going to play forward, I thought he's not going to be as effective. He might kick a few goals, but to be honest, he's still got a lot of the ball.
Yeah.
He was an extremely mobile forward. He was getting a lot of the ball and kicking goals. So that just reflects the quality of a player that he is. So,
Do you still stand by your call that you made off air the other day?
Which was what?
That Jimmy Bartella kicked 50 goals plus this year?
Oh, I'm not sure he'll genuinely kick 50 goals, but I think he's going to be very dangerous
Just
down
throwing
forward.
it out there and you'll grab onto it if he does.
Here we go. I think 40 goals.
40 goals?
I think
goals,
40
mate.
goals could be a
All
realistic
realistic.
expectation.
Yep.
He's playing a sort of a mobile centre-half forward role. Mitch Brown's in the side. As sort of that dummy forward. Like, we don't genuinely expect him to be a regular 3-goal kicker. Sort of like
absorbs a defender kind of.
Yeah, sort of like maybe like Vickery at Richmond or Spanger at Hawthorn when he plays on the side.
Yeah.
He sort of just takes it away from the more talented forwards. And Jimmy Bartell, you look at him, you don't think he's the centre-half forward type, but that's definitely the role he played for the entire game the other week. He had quite a few disposals and kicked 4 goals in his 250th game. He looked very impressive, and we'll see him there all season.
I think the Brisbane Lions as well, they pressured Hawthorn very, very well on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, early on in the game.
Tommy Rockcliffe really got under the skin of Sam Mitchell.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, it's cost him a week, and that's going to be a massive loss,
Yep.
providing he doesn't challenge the band. But he's a massive loss to their midfield. He's basically their core of the midfield.
I thought it was strange to see him played as a tagger, though.
I think it's strange to see him being used as everything except a pure midfielder, which is by far his best position.
Vinay wasn't happy to see him up forward.
When he plays midfield, he is third in the AFL for disposals and contested ball per game behind Adelaide and Pendlebury. And he's being used as a tagger, a forward pocket, all kinds of... It's not enough time for that, boys. It's very frustrating.
It baffles Vinay.
I'll tell you
is.
what, just before we get to our tips, I
Yeah.
was very, very happy to see Jonathan Brown kick 4 goals on the weekend.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
showed
me
us,
too.
showed us him former self.
He's still got it.
He still
Big
got
Jono.
He absolutely shanked one of them, though. He was about 15 metres out.
Oh, we forgive you, Brownie.
it. Mind you, he kicked 2 from 55 out.
Yeah, he did.
And
Yeah,
about
from the
halfway
paint.
up.
Yeah.
So he's still got it, the big man.
We love
one,
you, Brownie.
One thing about the Cats I definitely did want to mention, the ruck combination looked absolutely brilliant on Thursday. It's something since Brad Orton's left at the end of 2011 that Geelong haven't had. They haven't had first use of the ball. They've always assumed they'll lose the hit out, and they've set up to lose the hit out and counter-attack from there. But with Dawson Simpson, Hamish McIntosh and Mark Blitzarves in the side, it was incredible. Such a massive difference, and it'll be interesting to see if they stick with that ruck combination this week.
It'll be interesting. Boys,
Tips? I'll go Geelong by 31. I just don't think that miracle will happen again. Geelong will be too strong. They're much fresher. As you say, they've got a much better ruck combination. I loved Hamish McIntosh's work last week. I'll be going the Cats by 31 points.
Put your house on it, boys. Geelong by
There's
45.
that
Oh,
house
my
call.
goodness.
There's that house call.
There is that house. Well, Josh lost his house, I think. Was that Nick or you?
that was Nick.
That was Nick. Sorry, Josh. I apologise. It was Nick. He already lost his house.
This happened off air.
He's already lost his house. He's put down his
Just getting
10
our
minutes.
in-jokes into the show. But yeah, Geelong by 45 points. They're
I'm
not
gonna
going to let that miracle on grass happen again.
I am going to say Geelong by 30, boys, which leads us into Sunday afternoon at the G. West Coast fly down to Melbourne to take on Melbourne at the MCG.
Last time West Coast by 94 points.
In round 3. Big changes for Melbourne. Max Gawn, Mitch Clisby, Jamie Strauss and Sammy Blees, all chances to come in. Josh, what is your take?
As I said to you off air, I read a stat this morning on Twitter that the West Coast Eagles have only won 3 games at the MCG since their 2006 grand final win. Mind you, 2 of those have come against the Demons.
Yep.
So it's a good thing to take into the game.
Yeah.
Mind you, going back to this last game in round 3 of last year, I think the Demons were up by 6 points at half time, and the Eagles still managed to run over them by 94 points.
Yeah.
So I don't think that'll happen again this time. But watching West Coast last night for 3 quarters, I missed 1 quarter. I really like their ball movement. They've got a fit list now. Luke Shuey came off subbed, but I thought he had a very good game.
Yep.
Andrew Gaff was fantastic as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
He looks like he's had a massive pre-season.
Yep.
Matt Prittis, as always, is consistent as ever. And Cox and Nat Nui, they're going to be a dangerous duo every game they play together.
Now, I know Vinay is itching to talk about his Eagles here, but I just want to touch on Melbourne. Bad kicking for goal is bad football. 10 behinds in a row it was against St Kilda. And you're just not going to win a game if you have that kind of conversion rate up forward. They had lots of disposals. Their game style...
Overkilled their structure.
They probably overkilled, Vinay says. They kind of messed around with the ball a little bit, but when they got it up forward, they just didn't take their chances. So they really need to improve that this week.
Before you go with West Coast, Renee, I also thought Jack Watts played his best game for the Melbourne Football Club.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of that, yeah.
I thought he was absolutely fantastic. And it's a shame they couldn't get the win because I reckon his performance might have been talked about more
If they had won.
they won.
Correct.
But I thought he was very, very good in that midfield on Saturday night.
Correct. Just quickly, guys. I think West Coast look very fluent. I think last year there were too many bombs inside 50. This year there is a much, much more steadier build-up. Lacroix, he's had a bit of problems since his injury, but now he looks to be back and fit. And when you've got a fit Lacroix, that's the kind of guy that he can be. He can be like a Jimmy Bartell. He'll get a lot of the ball and he'll kick a lot of goals as well. Jack Darling, honestly, he was clunking marks like
My man.
Yep, your man. He was clunking marks like a key forward. And Shannon Hearn off half-back, everything just looks to be gelling really nicely. Beau Waters is their only really key injury, and he's set to return in 4 to 5 weeks.
Yep.
Once he's back, that back line is full strength, and I think it'll be a very good year for the West Coast Eagles.
What's your tip?
I'm going to say West Coast by 40 points.
Are you heading down?
I will be.
Oh, very good.
West Coast by 62. Bit of a shellacking for the D's. They'll punish them this week.
Yeah, I think West Coast got it done very easily as well. 56 points.
Moving on, the last game of the round, it's the Bulldogs versus North Melbourne, Sunday afternoon at Etihad Stadium. Last time it was North by 54 points in round 7 of last year. What are your thoughts on the game, guys?
North Melbourne just have to bounce back.
Yep.
Have to bounce back. I mean, so do the Bulldogs after their loss last night, but I think more so North Melbourne. They were touted as a top 4 contender by many at the start of the year, including myself.
Yeah.
And I know you two both said that they'd struggle to make the 8, but they've got a very, very good list. And I think the main problem that North Melbourne have, and this, I don't say this lightly, I think they run hard one way, but don't run as hard the other.
Yep.
I think they've got a lot of front runners, and I'll name names: Daniel Wells, Jack Zeeble, Brent Harvey, very much front runners.
Yep.
And don't do enough defensive work.
Yep. The Dogs, they pride themselves on contested ball, and they were well beaten against your Eagles, Vinay.
Yep. It was interesting, actually. The weird thing was the Eagles had more disposals, but they also had more tackles.
Yeah.
And usually it's the side that has less disposals that is,
more tackles.
Exactly, yeah. So it shows me that their work rate was dropped. They were number 1 in the league for contested ball differential last year.
The Bulldogs, that
and
is.
the Bulldogs. And they were absolutely belted by the Eagles in that department. I think if Griffin returns, that'll change their structure a lot. I think Liberatore struggled a bit with the tag.
Yep.
Although he did get a lot of the ball, he butchered it at 59% disposal efficiency. Griffin coming back will relieve him, and he'll be able to go back to his extracting role. It'll be a very interesting game because both these teams were thoroughly disappointing against their relative opposition.
Not much more else to say, really.
Tips, boys?
2 disappointing teams, so...
I just think North just have to win.
Yeah.
I think Western Bulldogs won't mind. Oh, they will mind, but they won't be too concerned if they lose again. I mean, they are still rebuilding. They're looking to improve, but they are rebuilding.
Yep.
But for North, there's just
North
so much
just
at stake
has
here.
to win. They just have to win. So I'll be tipping North to bounce back by 28 points.
Nick?
Yeah, North Melbourne by 37 points. I think they'll really bounce back here.
All good.
Who are you tipping?
Who are you tipping for
Oh,
that?
I haven't tipped.
Can't get out that easily.
I'm going to go North Melbourne by about 16 points, boys.
16?
Yep.
All right. I think we're done, boys. We're a little over time, but that's all right. We had to fit 9 games into a certain amount of time.
We will get better at that.
We will get better. But it's been a thoroughly enjoying show again. Can't wait for a full round of footy. Get rid of that crappy little split round thing that we had for round
terrible.
1.
No.
It'll be good to see footy back at the MCG this week.
Friday night, we will be at Essendon and Hawthorn.
We will be.
For boundary riding, our little street talk segment there.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to it.
We're looking forward to it. We'll talk to the fans, ask them some questions, Essendon and Hawthorn fans. Can't wait to get out to Etihad Stadium. It's going to be absolutely fantastic.
Make sure you're following us on Twitter. We'll probably put something on Twitter to say which gate we're at or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can come find us. Have your own say. We'll have some questions prepared and get you on the show.
We might put it on the page as well.
Might put it on the page as well. Yep.
BCBAFL Live.
Email us at btbafl@live.com.au.
Any email inquiries, make sure you subscribe to us above Vinay's head there. Got about 160 subscribers now, which we're pretty happy with.
Absolutely.
And it only takes a second. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you hit the like button in your bottom right-hand corner there. It helps us out a lot.
And a quick thanks to Valiant.
And we forgot last week, our producer Justin Westhoff. Thanks very much for your help, as always.
Happy birthday for yesterday as well, Justin. Boys, thanks again for joining
Pleasure.
us.
No problem.
It's been a ripping show. Justin, thank you again. We'll see you next week.